I'm going to be watching the scariest Christmas horror stories animated. I chose to do Christmas ones just because of the holidays. They're true, obviously, all of them. All of them are true. Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sophie. I actually haven't recorded like all week, so here I am. Christmas horror stories. Okay, I don't know if this one's true. And Santa Claus looks possessed. Submit your story. You guys, no one is. This is like my story animated. I don't really know if I believe in how true these Christmas horror stories are. They were they were submitted by people to IMR Scary Tales. So they are obviously very reliable. I kind of like the animation they have going on here. Let's get into the video. Hope you guys like it. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, all that nice stuff. Let's hope I don't get like secondhand curse from watching these videos. I decided to put some ambiance back there just so you guys don't get too scared, because I know these are very true and horrifying.
That Christmas Eve was almost perfect.
Really
the night
loud.
was cold, stars scattered across the sky, and the warmth of our little house wrapped around us as we put the last few ornaments on the tree.
This is the most normal Christmas setting. I don't know
I
why
begged
they
Mom
have
to keep
add
us
scary
up just a
music.
little longer, just a few more minutes to make Christmas last, to stretch out that magical night. We'd pulled out all the tricks we knew.
Wow,
Just
she
one
looks
more
bugged
story,
out.
Mommy.
Is that the mom?
Please.
Okay.
Can we sing one more carol?
She had laughed. He promised us Santa wouldn't come if we were
that's
awake,
so sad.
and up we went.
There's
Reluctantly,
there's two gifts under
but
the tree.
with a kind of breathless anticipation of the morning. I still remember her face,
She hasn't blinked this entire video.
warm with the soft light of knowing her children were
There
happy.
is nothing
Only
regular about
it didn't
this
stay
Christmas.
that way. It ripped right through the house, thick with fear. I didn't know it was my mother's voice right away. He wasn't like a shadow. He was more real than that. The closer he came, the clearer his face was, even in the dark. And it wasn't
was
the
Santa
face
Claus,
of someone we knew.
obviously.
Not a neighbor, not a family friend, not even a stranger
Yeah.
you'd see in the street.
Okay.
Something was off. Something that told all of us, that he shouldn't be there. Shh. He brought his index finger to his lips. That's when it came to light, the glimmering blade. He was holding a knife. Its cold
Santa
metal
Claus?
glinted. My mother,
Hey,
who
the
I
presents are
noticed
still there.
cornered behind the tree, screamed again. It was a sound of pure terror, a sound that seemed to come from her very soul. We wanted to run, but it was
Well,
as if
yeah.
we were all glued
He
wanted to
shouldn't be there.
run.
He's a random man in your house with a bloody knife who just attacked your mom.
I heard a shuffle,
Why is he
a
walking like
muffling
that?
sound, and my mother's voice rose in a high-pitched whimper. I saw her then, lying against the wall, clutching her stomach. Her hands were red
Stop.
and sticky. Blood, so much of it. She tried to stand, but couldn't. Her face twisted with pain, fear, and something else, like she was begging us not to be there, to go away, as if that would keep us safe.
Oh no.
He didn't stop. He just stood there, towering over her. His
Bro, no one is
chest
helping you.
heaved as he held the knife out. His
Can they do
breathing
something?
filled the room, almost rhythmic. It was the only sound of
Okay, you know what? This is why you don't have kids. If I am like dying, I would hope someone would help me.
than the faint buzz
I
of
guess
the
not,
Christmas
though.
lights. Her face was buried in my arm
Aw.
as her tiny frame
Tiny
shook with
frame?
fear.
Are we sure about
I
that?
wanted to cover her eyes, but I couldn't move. I just couldn't. The knife kept
Okay,
coming
bro.
down. I realized then that he'd come for her. It wasn't a robbery, but a homicide.
Okay, no shit, Sherlock. A random man just broke in your house. Not robbing anything. You have 3 presents under the Christmas tree. This is obviously attempted murder, or succeeded murder.
He looked up once,
Your next
finally,
best bet is
his
to run.
eyes finding us through
Maybe.
the dark. And for a moment, his lips curved. Not a smile, not quite, but close, like he knew he'd won. Like he knew this night, this Christmas, was
His facial
his.
hair is very
As
interesting.
I held my sister tighter, the sound of sirens pierced through the air. Red
is a
and blue
really
lights
sad
started flashing
Christmas.
through the windows, cutting into the room, throwing shadows across the walls.
Who called the cops? Who called the cops?
Her eyes open, but not
yeah, this is
seeing
really
us
sad.
anymore. The
First-
man was gone before
Yeah,
the police
this
got
is
there,
sad. I actually agree with the
vanishing
person
into
in
the
the
cold
comments.
Christmas night,
Maybe they were onto
leaving
something.
behind nothing but the echo of that awful scream, the red stains across the floor, and the hollow space that my mother used to fill. And every
never
Christmas
mind.
since, it's like she's
Aw.
there with us, her face pale and her eyes wide, forever trapped in that night. Only the lights feel dimmer, the laughter quieter, like even our happiest
no one see
moments
where he went?
are haunted aim, and it never will be. It was December 22nd, 2013, and Patricia Burns was making turkey on Christmas Eve with her two daughters
way.
when her ex, Clifford Burns, stopped by the house wearing a mask. He stabbed Patricia to death right in that kitchen. Unfortunately, her teenage daughters watched their mother meet a horrifying end before calling 911 for help.
That's so
Clifford
sad.
Burns gave reason that he...
Okay, well now I feel bad. Wait, that's kind of sad. Oh no, that sucks. Okay, story number 2.
Being an orphan, every year my friend Julia's family invited me to their Christmas dinner.
This animation is getting slightly worse by the story. Every single character looks high out of their mind.
And the scent of pine and cinnamon spilling out as I walked in. The whole family of 10 was
a
there,
very interesting Christmas
kids and
dinner.
adults. But this year, the energy was off. Julia's eyes kept darting toward the door.
Are you okay? Waiting for someone?
Why does she have a 6-pack?
Brent might show up.
Brent
So,
was her ex-husband,
I
a
have a
loose
theory.
cannon. They married
Every single homicidal maniac here has been an ex. We should stop dating crazy people so we don't get murdered on Christmas.
when they were 18 and divorced just 5 years later. He was abusive, reckless, and everyone but Julia saw it coming from a mile away. They'd been going through a nasty divorce, and he'd lost custody of their son Peter just weeks before.
Told him you couldn't see Peter until after the holidays, but he's not taking no very well. He got a restraining order. Don't worry, you're with family.
She managed a weak smile, but I could see the worry on her face.
Oh no!
Later, while we were gathered around the tree,
Peter?
there was a knock at the door.
No.
Julia's face went pale, and the laughter
That
in
was
the
not
room
pale.
died instantly. I got up to
someone just
answer,
not answer the door?
expecting
I feel like we know
to
who
brush
it is.
off some random
Yeah, this is
visitor.
not a random
but
visitor.
as
This
I
is
opened the
clearly the
door,
ex
my
who
breath
wants to see
caught.
Peter.
It was Brent, dressed as Santa Claus.
This is
He had the red suit,
stupid.
the hat,
Yeah.
and even a fake white beard that only half covered his face.
Brent.
But it wasn't a joyful Santa standing
not
there.
creepy.
His eyes were cold, focused. He clutched a massive, bulging sack
crazy.
over his shoulder.
Brent, you're not allowed to be here.
He pushed me aside and barged in. Ho, ho, ho! Julia gasped, clutching Peter close to her. I just came to bring gifts for my son. It's Christmas
Peter not
after
scared?
all. The room was
Please someone
quiet.
throw him out.
You need to leave, Brent.
His eyes narrowed. I came all this way. Let me see my son just for a minute. A tense
Can no one gang up on him? There's like obviously 5 other people in this room to stop
silence
Peter.
filled the room.
Or
I could feel the
Trent.
unease building as Brent's gaze drifted to
was a
each of
knife.
us. He reached into the sack
Please.
and pulled out something long and metallic. Before I could even process it,
Dude.
he raised the gun, pointing it around the room as he spoke, his voice eerily calm. You all turned on me.
Okay,
You
so
took
he
everything.
shoots them up?
I just want my family back. The room erupted into
Honestly,
chaos.
just give him Peter. Because now everyone's about to get shut up. He's not even that bad.
Julia
feel like
screamed, pulling Peter behind her
this
as
was
people
kind of
scrambled
extra.
for
He didn't need
cover.
to
I froze,
show up in
feeling
a Santa
numb
suit
sort
and
of
then pull out
horror
the
wash
rifle.
over me as Brent started firing shots.
I don't know, maybe this is normal. I don't know.
jumped behind the couch, grabbing Julia's hand and pulling her along as she clutched Peter. Somehow, we managed to crawl toward the back hallway, and Julia and I ushered Peter into a closet. I handed her my phone, whispering that she should call the police while I tried to draw Brent away. I made my way to the front door, hoping he'd see me from the kitchen and follow. I glimpsed the destruction behind, the shattered decorations,
What decorations?
the smear of blood
There's
on the floor.
no decorations here.
Brent shouted from the kitchen. You're not trying to leave the party early, are you, Alyssa? I saw Julia's brother and uncle lying in blood nearby, and I knew that my
that's so
fate would be the
sad.
same.
Did
But
she
just as he
live?
was about to shoot,
Oh.
Julia jumped out of nowhere. She wrestled him and yelled at me to leave. I got up on one leg and hopped out, rushing to the neighbors for help, who were already out.
Yeah.
That's when we all heard 2 more shots go off. The police cars arrived quickly and they barged in,
Okay.
only to
A
find
bit
a bloody
late.
Santa
No.
with his son
No.
sitting in his lap,
No,
a
not
shotgun
Peter.
lying at his feet, beside the body of Julia. Brent was taken away. The story is inspired from the Covina massacre, which occurred on Christmas Eve 2008. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, recently divorced and deeply resentful, arrived at his former in-laws' home in Covina, California, dressed in a Santa Claus suit. The family was celebrating. At 67, I had learned to value every relationship I cultivated, especially those that blossomed from trust and affection. Patty Michelle White seemed
Even
like an
worse.
ordinary woman on the surface,
she?
but her story was more complicated than it appeared. We met years ago through my family, at one of our many family parties. She was a friend of my nephew's, and at first I didn't think much of her. However, when she found herself in a dark place in her life, facing financial difficulties, I decided to open the door of my home to her. I offered her a place to stay,
Bad
something I
choice.
thought would help her find her way.
When they look in the camera like that, with like the greedy eyes, you usually don't want to invite them in your home. But you know what? It is good that she was kind.
I remember the first day she arrived at my house. She had a small suitcase and a shy smile, perhaps a little nervous.
No,
Thank you, Michelle. This means so much.
it's getting even worse. I don't know who drew this. Exactly what am I looking
In time,
at?
we even had late-night conversations.
Please.
Honestly, the best part of my days.
Do we just
talked
recognize
about
this?
life,
I feel like no one in the comments was talking about the
lost
animation
dreams,
style.
and the choices that had brought us to where we were.
Remember when we were young
It's like
and thought
barely
we'd
a
have it all
drawing. If I had a horror story where my entire family got murdered and someone drew it up like this, I'd kind of be pissed.
figured out by this age?
I would joke.
Yeah. And here we are. Just trying to survive.
I would reply, laughing at how ironic life can be. As the weeks went by, Patty became part of my routine. I
She was
even
like a
let her use
mafia
my
leader.
car to run errands, and I shared my debit card pin with her so she could buy food for both of us. It was a mutual trust that bordered on blind faith, and she often told me she thought of me as a mother. She made me feel useful, like I was reliving my parental days. One afternoon, my twin brother Phil
this?
came to visit, eager to meet Patty. It's always good to meet new friends, he told me as he sat in the kitchen sipping a cup of coffee. Patty just walked in, smiling and bringing freshly baked cookies. She's taking good care of you, huh? Phil said to Patty in a joking tone.
I'm definitely stealing some of her love.
She replied, laughing. I felt a warmth in my chest, a joy at the connection we had made. As the weeks turned into months and Christmas approached, we decorated the house together, creating a festive atmosphere filled with laughter. The thought of spending the holidays with someone I had come to love like a daughter was
So I feel like something bad is about to happen, but this might just be a very educated guess. I'm not sure.
exciting. And this year, the big annual party would be at my house. Little did I know the gift my good friend Patty had prepared for me.
Murder?
One day, while I was in my room, I decided it would be a good idea to give Patty a key to the house.
This is just to make you feel more comfortable here.
I said, as I handed it to her with a smile. She took it with trembling hands, her face reflecting happiness and something else I couldn't identify. A few days later, as I was getting ready to host some friends for dinner, I noticed that Patty seemed a little more nervous than usual. I saw her pacing the house, her gaze restless, as if waiting for something.
Everything okay, Patty?
I asked
Patty
her,
is
and she
not
smiled,
okay.
but something in her eyes didn't match her expression.
Patty needs to put down the coke. Oh no.
Patty, you scared me. Patty?
Michelle O'Dowd, a 67-year-old Florida resident, was found murdered on December 2nd, 2011. Her twin brother, Phil Axt, discovered her in her apartment after growing concerned about her absence from work. The scene was horrifying. Michelle had been beaten, strangled, and her body was hidden beneath Christmas gifts. The apartment was in disarray, with valuables missing, including her debit card, which had been used at nearby ATMs and captured on security cameras. The main suspect, Patty Michelle White, a
Wow. That was actually an extremely accurate drawing of her.
37-year-old family friend, had lived with Michelle for a time and had access to her home and cards office.
Sub. Every year things like this happens, and there will be stories like this that will be told ... eventually. Dedrick, MC Forlin at 7291 is planning something. Let's beware. I just liked his comment, so maybe he won't come and murder me. Oh, so we have a full review. Okay. 4 victims. These stories are gruesome. None of these things should happen on Christmas. Yeah. Or ever. It should be a time to be joyful. I would have said something to the guy in the first story. I knew was knocking the door in the second story. I didn't think it was a good idea to give the key away in the third story. I also knew she was going to do something to her. Well, congratulations! Apparently no one else thought these things. This is completely AI generated. Thank you, Mojo3318. Extremely helpful to the victims who actually died. I bet they would love to hear your feedback. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Maybe not the best way to start off my Christmas break. We'll see y'all on the next one. Bye!